most of the time we live like in autopilot. We don't know what we have to do until we lose everything we have.
You were spoiled rotten.
You always keep asking questions. I have to fire back, bro. Shit.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Jiggee Jon Show. Now, today I've got an amazing guest. Now, the sad thing about this is this guest belonged on the previous season in the carpool edition of the Jiggee Jon Show. But technology always kicks you in the rear end when you least expect it. And after we had an amazing interview, got back to the studio and found out that the audio was not what it should be. So today, he has taken time off his busy schedule of doing 3,000 squats and pumpings and whatnot, because all he does is build his body till kingdom come, to be back on the show. The only difference is this Habibi is not in Malaysia, but he is sitting in Saudi Arabia, 5 hours behind us. Folks, welcome on the show, streaming in live from Saudi. It's my man AbdulAziz. What up? What up? What up?
Yo! What's up, my G?
What's up, brother?
How's things?
Good, man. Welcome on the Jiggee Jon Show, round 2.
Damn, it's been a while. I'm still angry about the first one, man.
I know, man. I mean, we had an amazing conversation. It was raw, unfiltered. You were super legit. But yeah, it is what it is. But everything happens for a reason. And
Definitely, man.
For what it's worth, this platform that I'm on now, what we're doing, it's just a better version of the show already. Just because now, we've got both of us on cam, with no disruptions. The audio is perfect. And
yeah, man.
And so for the intents and purposes of telling a story, which is what the show is all about, and today it's going to be your story. So how long have you been back in Saudi?
I don't know. It's been a while, man. But you know what's funny? I came back to Saudi once I entered the airport.
Yeah.
2 days after, they shut down everything. They shut down the flights. I was damn lucky, bro. I'm telling you.
Wow. Yeah, because okay, let's do some math here. May 18 is when COVID-19 and all the steps that Malaysia took to prepare for it began. So yeah, you're probably right. It must have been around that time.
Very close. You remember when I told you, damn, I'm lucky that we got this all together before I leave?
Yeah.
Then that might thing happened, but I'm glad that I get to talk to you again.
All right. So folks, a bit of backstory on why I've got this gentleman on the show. So he is a man who came to Malaysia to further his studies, and life happened here. A life-changing experience happened, and today we're going to get that story out of him, because I do believe it's a story that just breeds positivity. And this man is now he's a happiness junkie. That's all I can say. So let's take it back, man. I mean, you grew up in Saudi. Which part of Saudi?
Yeah, I grew up in Riyadh. So Riyadh is the capital of Saudi Arabia. I lived my whole life in here.
And you came to Malaysia how long ago?
I went to Malaysia in 2013.
Okay.
In the purpose of pursuing my studies.
Yeah. So I remember when you first came here, what was the whole journey and experience? So I think this is going to be interesting because we get to talk about you as an international student who left your comfort zone, and then you came out into a brand new environment. And I will never forget you telling me how you came here and everything. You got to tell me the same thing, man. Just you fending for yourself as a young man here and realizing that, oh, shite, I don't have my comfort zone anymore. So tell us the journey, bro.
Man, it was amazing. And you remember when we had the first interview and you start sharing your journey in the United States, and I'm like, damn, we're living the same exact life, getting out of our comfort zone. But you went to the United States, I went to Malaysia, and it's about the same thing, about the
Correct.
same hustle. When I first came to Malaysia, man, I felt lost because I don't know if the listeners know this, but in Saudi Arabia and Middle East, mostly we are very family oriented. So family comes first.
Yeah.
Family takes care of all the children like 80% of the time.
Right.
You won't need to do anything. You won't need to do any work. The only thing you have to do is be a good boy and go to school. No, literally, I'm telling you this. Most of the time, 80% of the time. So you have to go to school, get good
Right.
grades, and that's about it. You don't have to
Right.
do anything. So
Okay.
when I first went to Malaysia, I was like 17 years old, lost and dumb guy. I don't know anything about life. Then I went there and I was like, boom, I got nothing that I'm handling right. Like even the smallest thing, John, is like doing your own laundry, doing your own dishes. I'm like, what? Do I have to do my dishes now? This is what life brought me to. Then I started like all these responsibilities that I didn't know that it
Yep.
exists. And that's the key word. Most of the time we live like in autopilot. We don't know what do we have to do until we lose everything we have.
Yep.
Then we realize that, oh shit, we have to do certain stuff to catch up with life. And that's the best thing about getting out of your comfort zone.
Yep.
As you said, is realizing the things you take for granted most of the time, then be grateful for it.
Yep.
So I went to university. I was still lost. A big culture shock, man.
Yep.
Malaysia is different. Southeast Asia is different. For a guy who lived his whole life in Middle East,
Yep.
in Saudi Arabia, I lived in the deserts, man. I lived with the camels, not like with the camels, but
Yeah.
we had camels around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then suddenly, like, instead of the scenery, here everything is like yellow
Yep.
because all sands. I told you this before. Then I went to Malaysia, everything is green. I'm like, wow, life is so different in here. The air is different. The humidity is different.
Yep.
I used to sweat a lot because my skin is not used to humid weather. I used to live in a dry weather.
Yep.
Saudi Arabia is super dry. Middle East is super dry. A lot of differences. People are different. So I had this thing where I had to adjust. I had a lot of bad traits
Mm-hmm.
in me
Mm-hmm.
because of the society I lived in.
Yep.
I used to be like, I don't know, because I'm always open, John, about everything that I did before, because it's good to share these experiences with others. I was racist for other races.
Mm.
I used to think, oh, Arabs are like the shit. And this comes from only living in one place your whole life. I think you know what I mean, right?
Totally understand, man. Totally understand.
Yeah, like imagine if you didn't go to the United States.
Yep.
Would you like respect other races as much as you do right now, or not?
Well, I mean, Malaysia, technically, multiracial as we are, so you've seen it yourself. I guess I was more open, but I think, yeah, the experience definitely opened my eyes to the Western mindset and how they perceived other races.
So the pressure comes from like you have to go to university. You
Yep.
have to deal with certain things. You have to deal with a different weather. So this pressure that we generate is the pressure that makes us grow and
Mm.
develop. And
Mm.
that's why I'm grateful I had to spend I think, yeah, 7 years of my life in Malaysia.
Yep.
And it's been an amazing journey. And I feel blessed that I had to take that step. And I'm telling you, I wouldn't be the same guy I am now without this experience, without putting myself totally out of my comfort zone.
Besides the cultural differences, what were the difficulties that you faced? Because I remember you told me that you came here as a very young Arab boy who was developed around the facets of where everything was done for you. You were a pampered kid. I'm going to use the word, you were spoiled rotten. Okay.
100%, 100%, bro.
You know,
100%.
and you came here and a boy became a man, but that was a 7-year journey. But
Yep.
take us back to when it started to happen.
Yep. So what happened next? I started like focusing on my studies. In university, I'm an engineer.
Right.
I studied manufacturing engineering. So the first 2 years, I was not a good student. I'm not a good. I'm not book smart. I'm
Right.
honest with myself,
Yep.
and that's one thing that people have to realize. You have to be honest with yourself. I wasn't honest with myself. I was fooling myself that I'm book smart because my parents wanted me to be book smart. They wanted me to be the best engineer I can be, and they needed me to be like with the highest grade I can get. So
Right.
that's what I thought life is all about. But that was not my reality.
Mm.
That's what my family wanted me to live in. So the first two, even the first 3 years in university, I was chasing that. I was trying to be something I'm not. That's why the first 2 years I kept failing and failing because my family put so much pressure on me. I used to lie to them like, "Oh, all good. I'm not failing. I'm not doing anything." Because otherwise, they will like. I felt like they will put more pressure on me because I'm failing.
Mm.
So what I want to deliver is this: like you have to be always honest with yourself. If
Mm.
you're good at something, you're good at something.
Yep.
Improve,
Yep.
double your strengths at that. That doesn't mean you don't have to improve your weaknesses,
Yep.
but always double up on your strengths. So during that time, I was already a gym freak. I did sports my whole life.
Okay.
Like even when I was younger, I used to do gymnastics. Then I used to play football. Then I started my gym journey into like fitness in general, like building muscles, be the fastest guy I can be the strongest guy I can be. So during all of this time, I was birthing this journey, but I was taking it for granted because this is not my life purpose,
Yep.
according to what my life purpose, like what I thought life
What
purpose
you
is.
thought it was. Yep.
Yep. But the thing is that because I wasn't good at doing my studies,
Yep.
I used to spend more time here in the gym,
Mm.
John. So
Mm.
I used to escape my reality into living with my own fantasies in the gym because when I went to the gym, I was Farohan there. I was like the king of the gym. Everyone's like, no, what workouts do you do, bro? What do you eat? Blah blah blah. So you get this feeling of your self-esteem, like shit. Why should I go out of the gym while I'm the king in here?
Mm.
And when I go back to my studies, I'm a piece of shit.
Right.
My lecturers used to make fun of me because I had to like 2.3 CGPA, and my friends used to like make fun of me, and they're like, "Oh, this guy's gonna fail this quiz again." Sometimes it's like a joke from your close friends, but they don't realize how hard it hits, and you have to act like you're alright,
Mm.
and that was horrible for me,
Right.
mentally and physically. The amount of pressure I used to put on myself in the gym physically
Right.
was not even healthy. So I used to work out like I used to overtrain.
Mm.
It was a good thing. It led me to who I became now as a smart athlete now.
Yep.
But I was a dumb athlete even before.
Right.
Like I used to just go to the gym, lift heavy. You see all of these guys lift heavyweights, and eat like 3,000 calories per day, 3,500 calories per day. So it was all about the physical because
Mm.
I was obsessed with improving my physique, the way I
Mm.
looked from outside.
Mm.
And now when I think about it, and that is because of a reason, because I was broken from the inside. There is no internal self-esteem.
Yep.
So I had to depend on the external. So I was like, I'm always happy when they say, "Oh, your biceps grew some more, your body looks bigger, blah blah blah." And I used to get very upset when someone tells me you lost weight or something. And you
Mm.
know why? Because that's the only thing I had.
At which point did something change okay, what was the paradigm shift is what I'm trying to say. Tell me that experience that you went through and how it just changed your life.
Yep, definitely. So on the third year, at a certain period of time, I had a very pressured time with my exams. I
Mm-hmm.
had a lot of exams and subjects that I failed before, and I
Mm-hmm.
have to pass
Mm-hmm.
at this time. Otherwise, like a lot of academic issues I will have to go through.
Right.
So, and it was in the period of Ramadan. We just finished Ramadan. So,
Exactly. Yep.
yeah. So it was the same period of time. So, I was fasting all the time
Yep.
and I had my exams period. So I had to go in a sleepless period of time. I don't sleep, I study, then I go to gym, escape a bit, get some chemicals to make myself happy, then motivate myself to study again.
Yep.
So it was a very tough period of time.
Yep.
So a lot of workout, no sleep, no food, and exams. So a lot of pressure and stress. So you have to balance your chemicals out. So the stress is super high. What do you have to do? You have to work out harder.
Yep.
It's like all this negative energy you release in the gym. That's why I'm blessed that this is my addiction,
Mm,
is working out and
mm,
improving myself.
mm.
Because, otherwise, if I'm not into this, I will find another way to release all that stress. I'm telling you, whether it's like drinking, be like smoking something, taking some drugs, people find a way to release that, or oversleep, you know.
Yep.
So I'm lucky that I improved this type of escape because it's paid off on the long run. Otherwise, I would be even more lost.
Yeah, I understand.
I believe so.
Yep.
I believe so. So at a certain period of time, I was in the gym. Then I felt some pain in my body, especially in around my lumbar spine area. And I was like, whatever, another muscle cramp or whatever. Then I went to sleep. I woke up the other day. The pain is still there, but man up.
Yeah.
Like just a muscle cramp,
Yep.
just like just train, no pain, no gain.
Yep.
All of these things. Then the pain got worse. Then I'm like, something is fishy in here. Then I slept on it and I woke up the next day. I took my final exam, then no more exams. And it was like a holiday period. So all my friends flew out to their countries. All my local friends went to their like kampongs. So I was all by myself. It was like 2 days before Raya.
Okay.
So I was like, gotta celebrate my shit. I already have the back pain and it's
Yep.
horrible.
Yep.
But I still went to the gym because of my, you can say arrogant. I was arrogant.
Yep.
I'm a tough guy. This is nothing. Then I went to the gym. Then I didn't even work out. I just bent down to
Yep.
grab something, and I heard my back go crack. Then I was like, shit, this is not normal. This never happened to me before. Then I tried to force myself. I'm like, fuck no, this is getting so much painful. Then I just stretched it out and went home, and I woke up with this horrible pain. John, I couldn't even move from my bed.
Okay.
I couldn't even move from my bed. Then I knew something is wrong. Then I was trying to drag myself out of bed. I couldn't move. I crawled down. Then I tried to like just stand up. I knew something is wrong, so I had to put on some clothes
Yep.
and do something about it because no friends. I have no one to help me at that period of time. Then I just like forced myself. It was the most painful thing I had in my life, putting on my pants that day. Super painful. I don't wish it on anyone.
Yep.
Then I just toughen up. I just walked with the pain. I went to the car. It was 7 a.m. in the morning. Then, like accelerating. When you have to
Yep.
accelerate in your car.
Yep.
Every time I accelerate, I push my leg like that. A knife shooting pain hits me in my lower back and around my glutes area. Super painful. My whole body was numb. I couldn't feel my organs. My hands are like super heavy. My left leg is super heavy. Then I went to they have a clinic in my university. Then I went
Okay.
there.
Okay.
There are like 2 or 3 nurses, and they were like, "Oh, let us take your X-ray." So long story short, they took my X-ray. Nothing showed
Yep.
in the X-ray,
Yep.
and I had this shooting pain. I was screaming for help. I was like, do whatever you can do to make this pain stop. I cannot sit down. I cannot stand up. Like, even if you have to make me pass out, just make me pass out. I don't want to live with this pain.
Yep.
It was painful to sit down. It was painful to stand up. It was a horrible situation. They gave me some injections.
Yep.
It helped a bit, but the X-ray shows nothing. Then
Right.
they said, we have to take you to a hospital outside. Then they called the ambulance. The other car came in. I was in the ambulance car. I only hear wee. Then I remember all of this. John, when you are connected emotionally to an experience, you never forget the feeling. So I remember all of this like it just happened to me, and I even get goosebumps because
Yep.
it was like a horrible experience.
Yep.
Then I went to the other hospital. They said we have to do the MRI.
Yep.
They did like the bed check. They did the MRI. And I was waiting in the room. I was chilling. The pain was less. The painkiller started to work. So my body's a bit relaxed. So I was like, yes, this is the shit. I'm all good now. I can go back to the gym. I can go back to my normal life. Then, but it was just a temporary thing. Then the doctor came in. He opened the door. His face is not the same anymore. He was like looking down. He opened his glasses, Then he looked at the report and he says, like that, bold, no introductions, nothing. He said, if you don't do a surgery for your lower back, that's what he said. I don't know what's going on. I was just chilling. If you don't do a surgery for your lower back in 1 week, you will never be able to walk. You will never be able to walk. And I was just trying to process all of this. I'm like, what's this? Blah, blah. Then, when it starts to hit you, like slowly, like, shit, this is some serious issue, I panicked, I'm like, start shouting at him, how would you say I wouldn't be able to walk and blah, 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 I'm an athlete, you cannot tell me this, all of this arrogance are still there. Like, you can't hurt me. Like, that's what I had in my head.
Yep.
I thought I'm tough as nails, but turns out I was not.
Yep.
Then he showed me the report, then he explained to me. Then he said, you have a very severe disc herniation in your last two vertebrae.
Right.
They're called L4, L5, and L5S1. So these two vertebrae are the last vertebrae in your lumbar spine.
Right.
So they almost connect your upper body to your lower body, and I had a very severe herniation. Herniation is when the discs are touching the nerve.
Yep.
And that was what's causing that sharp shooting pain.
Right.
Are like very close. So why it was dangerous and why he told me I have to do the surgery, because the discs were bulging so much. So it was like a 14 mm herniation. 7 mm is so much. 7 millimeter is too much.
Understand.
So I had 14. So if it gets out anymore, or if we don't remove the pressure from the nerve, it might damage the nerve or cut the nerve, which would cause disability. Then I was like, he gave me like 3 days to think. Then I had the report in my hand.
Yep.
I had no one else around me. I tried to call my friends, blah, blah, blah. But the first day was like the longest night I had in my life. Because
in
I
the
was
hospital,
looking at
right? In the hospital.
In the hospital, man. I only had the nurse to walk me with the chair whenever I needed the toilet, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
So I couldn't move. They were shooting these injections. I don't know what's going on, but there was no pain in the beginning because so much painkillers, I think. So I was looking at that night, I called my dad. Then he panicked, Then he was like, oh, what do you have to do, blah, blah, blah. Then he was going to transfer because the surgery is like around 45,000 ringgit.
Okay.
They have to remove these discs. Then he was about to transfer the money, but he said, let's ask other doctors and stuff. So he asked his friend and they made it worse.
Yep.
They were like, oh, this is too much. He has to do something. This is too much. Like they saw the MRI. So the MRI, you can see it. I can show it to you later.
Yep.
It was horrible. Then I asked my other friends.
Yep.
Still the same. But luckily, I have connection with 2 other athletes.
Okay.
I know them from social media and stuff. We all, like, you are in the podcast industry, so you know all the other podcasters, all the event people, right? So same for the fitness industry. I had 2 other friends.
Yep.
When I posted in my Instagram story, they were like, oh, we had the same exact injury.
Oh.
So take your chances. Don't listen to the doctors.
Right.
Luckily, I had that positive because it was all negative.
Yes.
Because
yes.
they were all like average people,
Yep.
Like, we have this, we have to do this. There is no other way. So when I had this, like, even it was like 10% of there is a way without the surgery, because once your body is under the knife, your life is not the same anymore.
Of course.
Your body will not be as strong as it was before the surgery.
For sure.
Once you're under the knife, you're not the same. Then that night, I was looking at the report and I was crying. There was like tears all over the report because I was like, my whole career is over. I cannot walk. I will not be able to work out. severe depression started to kick in. Then 3 days after,
Yep.
no, the second day,
Yep.
I started educating myself about all of this. What is this? What are the vertebrae? What are the discs? Then in one night, I studied the whole section, like what do they call it? The whole section,
Okay.
the whole lumbar spine,
Yep.
all the muscles. Then I told the doctor, I want to take my chances on this. I'm not doing the surgery. I'll try to go to the physiotherapy.
Yep.
And taking that decision
Yep.
is where the mental shift started,
Mm.
because I had to educate myself
Yep.
about this certain thing. And it happened that I had a book that I bought, but I never read,
Okay.
that one of my friends that didn't leave the country brought to me in there. So it was on the shelf. I had nothing to do. Then I grabbed that book. It was called The Power of Habit. And that was
Okay.
like, did you read that book?
No, I haven't actually. Not yet. No.
It's like a very good book. It's like the first book I read in my life.
Right. 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 Right.
I hated to read. I hated to improve myself. I was like just a meathead. Work out, eat, sleep. Work out, eat, sleep. Nothing else.
Mm.
Then I read this book, and I was like, shit.
Mm.
There is a lot to learn
Yep.
about myself.
Yep.
But I didn't have this mentality, John, because I didn't have to. I was in a constant escape. But that injury and me staying in the hospital, I had no escape.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is no way you can escape your mind. So it was like a face to face with myself.
Yep.
Like, here is what we have. Here is what we have to do to improve, and you have no escape. So I started become face to face, as I told you, with my mind.
Mm. Mm.
Then all the thoughts are now super crystal clear. There's no autopilot anymore.
Yep.
So I was like, after I read the book, I learned some stuff about the mind, and that's where it all started. I became obsessed with mental health. I became obsessed with improving myself mentally. So I was asking myself why I cannot do this, why my life is like that. Then I started asking myself about the choices I made
Yep.
the whole 3 years before.
Yep.
Then after that, I started doing the physiotherapy.
Yep.
In 10 days, I was able to walk again
Mm.
without limping,
Okay.
just a bit of limping on the left leg. So the doctor was shocked. My family was shocked. And luckily, I had a good physiotherapist.
Yep.
He had this good support system, like, you can do it, you can do it. Then in 2 months, then I went out of the hospital. They said, go try your luck, see how life goes with you, with your injury. Then I was like improving day after day. I had to do workouts 2 times per day. Once
Right.
when I wake up in the morning, I had to do a lot of stretching, and once before I go to sleep. Then I was getting better. And during this time, I kept on reading.
Yep.
I had few other books. I became obsessed with that. I became obsessed with reading about myself, reading a lot of self-help books. Then slowly I was getting better physically.
Mm-hmm.
My injury is fading. At the same time, I'm not the same. I felt like I'm not the same guy I was before that injury. I knew a lot about myself right now, that things I never knew that it exists.
Mm.
Things I didn't know that it exists in
Yep.
our life,
Yep.
that we can control.
Yep.
Then in 1 month's time, I was back in the gym. And that's where everyone went crazy. Like, you had this injury. People cannot walk their whole life. People have to face this pain, and you're back in the gym. 3 months time, I was back to my normal workout routine. And that's where I realized that once you don't listen to your surrounding, once you don't take any external feedback and start depending on your internal thoughts, on your internal things that you believe in, your body will adapt to whatever pressure you put on without getting affected from. Because after that 3 months back, I was back to my normal workouts. Everyone was like, damn, are you crazy? Blah, blah, blah. I was feeling good. I felt healthier than I felt even before because I was strengthening some muscles I didn't know about before.
Right, right.
Then everything started coming back into place, and I realized like my body is able to do whatever I tell it to do. If I had this injury, if I believe I can heal, it will heal.
Right,
Our
right.
bodies are capable of doing the digesting, the breathing, all by itself. We don't get any commands. So you think these small injuries we face, these small diseases we have
Yep.
that our bodies cannot fight, it can fight. But the body is a slave for the nervous system. So the nervous system is our thoughts. So when we believe that, oh shit, I cannot heal, oh shit, I will not be able to walk, the body will believe and the body will start acting according to these thoughts.
Right, right, right.
So the opposite is the same. When you believe you can do something, you will do something. It goes both ways.
Understand. So what was when you came out of that? I guess the moment you went back to the gym in the third month or so, and you started.
Yeah, yeah.
What it sounds like you had become a new person.
Yep,
It
sorry.
sounds like just the way your approach on life, your take on life, and even your mental thought processes were already. It's almost like you went through a whole brainwashing of sorts, and the old AbdulAziz was not the same guy anymore. And so what has happened since after you overcame that, and the journey since, like what are some of the pivotal things that have happened in your life that have kept you grounded and kept you on the same path that you decided to get into.
The most important thing that I was honest with myself.
Mm.
Uh, I was not lying about things anymore. I was not lying to myself that I'm good at something I'm not. You know, I faced my reality that, oh, I have to study, I have to complete these things. I'm not good at studying,
Mm.
but I'll try my best.
Yep.
That's the mental shift I had
Mm.
because I was, all this arrogant attitude I had.
Yep.
Like I'm the toughest guy, I'm the
Yep.
smartest guy.
Yep.
It was broken.
Mm.
My body was broken.
Mm.
I was disabled for like 5 days.
Mm.
Then I had to face myself.
Yep.
Then I realized no one, no one
Yep.
is the toughest in the world,
Right.
but everyone can start improving themselves
Mhm.
and making sure that they learn something new day after day. They improve at a certain scale day after day.
Yep.
That realization made me grow nonstop because I'm never at the top of a mountain.
Yep.
We are always chasing something. We're always learning. We're always improving.
Yep.
Once we think that we are the shit, once
Yes.
we think that we're the best at one thing, that's where improving stops.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Don't you like agree about this?
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, and I think that boils down to just humility versus arrogance. Yeah. So, I mean, what happened thereafter? Like, I mean, obviously you started addressing your studies in a whole new light, and I hope to God your studies did improve versus you just getting by.
It was the best 2 semesters I had, like ever. Like even my friends were shocked. My friends used start to come to me to explain stuff to them, and I
Right.
was like, life is different now, yeah.
Right, right. So what are the other things that started happening when you started making this mental shift? Like, I mean, obviously then you graduated, and I know you started working as well, right?
Yep, correct.
Correct. But what was the biggest thing that you've taken away from this? Because the person that you are today, what I see is a guy who's still into fitness, a guy who is so motivated about life. It's like nothing seems to be able to hold you down, and have you thought about it, the formula of what makes what you do every day uh, come together the way it does?
100%. I'm aware of why people are interested in what I do.
Hmm.
It's because they can relate to my story.
Okay.
I'm not out, you know, John, I'm not out there. I'm saying that I'm the toughest guy, like I used to say before. If you scroll down before my injury and compare my posts on Instagram and compare it with that, what I post now, you can see the difference.
Mm, mm.
People, people are attracted because they can relate. I'm not
Sure.
out there. I'm saying that, oh, I'm this ripped ass guy. I have these six packs. Oh, you have to be like me, otherwise you're a piece of shit.
Mm,
I'm out there. I'm making people aware that we all have to start somewhere. If anyone goes on my post on Instagram
mm.
and read what I write long as posts.
Yes, you do.
I write long as posts.
You talk a
But
lot, but
I,
you write a lot as well.
yeah, I'm like the perfect formula for like social media.
Yeah.
uh, what I write, I share my old experiences. Everything I'm telling you right now, I share it there, and people feel the genuinity of that
Mm,
because they can relate. I'm not here saying, "Oh, you have to work out every day, otherwise you're a piece of shit.
mm.
Otherwise you're not worth." No, I'm saying that I was the same.
Right,
I
right.
was I was mentally ill. I was depressed.
Mm,
That's what I'm sharing. I'm telling people that I was depressed. I had to face myself. What I'm showing people is that I'm not what you I was not always the guy you see right now who's
mm,
like happy, working out, always smiling, never talking about anything negative. I was the complete opposite.
mm.
And when people can relate to something, they feel like, oh, we can also improve ourselves. Like if this guy can make it, of course we can.
Yep.
And one thing, you know, I loved one of your posts, John, when you show the beginning of your journey,
Mm-hmm.
when you used to wear your clown outfit and you
Mm-hmm.
used to play with this thing. This is super sensational because I look up to you in the business world. You know,
Yep.
you're an inspiration for me.
Yep.
But if I always see John only showing up his big events and how he have like all these fancy cars, and I would be even more depressed because I would feel like this guy has always been this way. There is
Yep.
no way for me
Yep.
to reach the level he has reached right now.
Yep.
That's what I'm trying to promote. The fitness industry is always like showing all of these amazing things that
Yep.
people are doing in the gym, people, but no one is showing you their failures.
Of course. Of course.
No one is showing you where they came from,
Yep.
and I, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. And I, you know, you asked me something very interesting on how I keep rolling with this. It's, you know, your mind is, you can compare your mind to your muscles. The more pressure you put on your muscles, what's gonna happen? The more muscles are gonna grow, right? Same thing with your mind. The more commands you give to this mind, the more things you do while you don't feel like doing them,
Mm.
the more control you will have over your mind instead of your mind having control over you. Like, of course, all of us slack sometimes, become lazy, but the most important thing is that to keep the roll moving. Like, if you want to become lazy, just become lazy for a bit, then pick it up and keep rolling. If you slack a bit, you feel like, oh, I don't want to do anything today. It's okay.
Mm.
It doesn't matter. Just like live in that moment, get over it, and start rolling again. Otherwise, your brain, you know, my brain always gives me like this these days where it feels like it want to go back to its old self,
Yep. Yep.
and it's super funny now because you realize it. I feel like, oh, I see what you're trying to do there. You're
Mm.
trying to bring me back to what I was before. I notice this when I have a lot of tasks to do, and my brain tells me, oh, get a nap,
Mm.
get some sleep in. You deserve it. You don't have to do this. You can do it tomorrow. And that's where I realized, oh, I see what you're doing in there. People don't realize that our brain's main function is to make us feel comfortable and feel safe.
Yep.
When we are out of our comfort zone, your brain will be like, shit, like, just let's go back,
Yep.
go to sleep, do the things you used to do on a daily basis. Don't do anything new.
Yep.
So what happens is that most of the people don't realize that it's their brain working against them. So
Understand.
they live their whole life on an autopilot.
Mm.
People live and die without realizing how much potential they're missing.
I feel that what you do is, you remind people that, we should be grateful. And of course, you use it through, your fitness regime. But at the end of the day, I think that's obviously a strong part of mental health as well as physical health. And that's what I like about it. So what else are you doing these days, now that you're back home in Saudi? What are you gonna what's next for you? Like, what are you doing next? Like, what's next in your plan?
Actually, I got a lot of things in my bag. One thing I'm passionate about is traveling. I love to travel a lot. I don't love to stay in one place all the time.
Yep.
You know, I'm still young. I would rather go explore things before I settle down in one place. So I'm
Hmm.
going to Australia next
Okay.
around Jan.
Next
So
year,
I
Jan.
might, yeah, so I might drop by and say hi to you first in Malaysia, then
Yep. What's happening
go
in
there straight
Australia
away.
though? What's happening there?
Uh, I want to start again from scratch.
Studies or work or what?
Work,
Okay.
work, work and life.
Yep.
One thing I try when I came back here,
Mm-hmm.
all these old things that I lived in, our brain keep like data.
Yep.
When I came here, I'm comfortable again, and I hate it.
Mm.
Now I wake up, there is food on the table. I
Yep.
don't have to pay rent.
Yep.
Laundry is done. So now I'm trying to find ways to make myself uncomfortable again. So
Mm.
everyone in quarantine is like oversleeping and stuff. I make sure I wake up every day at 6 a.m. in the morning and I get my run. So one thing you asked me about how I keep myself rolling.
Yep.
One thing I found out from the books I read, from my own experiences, is that we're
Yep.
never happy until we're grinding, until we're doing something out of our comfort zone day in
Right.
and day out.
Right.
So I developed this habit after my all of these things happened to me. I make sure that I do the two things that I hate to do the most on a daily basis. These two things is running. Running is horrible for all the gym guys. I don't know if you can relate to this. You're a cyclist.
I'm a cyclist, yeah. So
You're a cyclist, so I think
yeah.
you're okay with running. I assume that.
No, no, no. I can't run, man. I don't learn. I don't run. I don't like it. No.
Yeah.
No.
So the first thing is running. I
Hmm.
hate running. And the second thing is waking up early in the morning.
Right.
Because
Right. Right.
if I can overcome myself first thing in the
Yep.
morning, do you
Yeah.
think anything else is gonna stop me or gonna stop you?
Right.
No,
Right.
no one is gonna stop you except yourself. So once we overcome ourselves and we do the
Mm.
things we hate on a
Hmm.
daily basis, we're done, man. We're hooked.
So, what's the biggest learning curve you got out of being an international student that left home, lived abroad for 7 years, and then you've come back home? What is the biggest learning curve that has really made an impact in your life?
Man, there's a lot of things. One of the things is that you're like traveling abroad as
Yep.
an international student, as you said,
Yep.
will not only develop you from an academic perspective, it will change you from like you'll become more life smart, if
Mm.
that's a term. There's a term like life
Yep.
smart,
Yeah. Yeah.
street smart.
Street
That's
smart.
the one.
Yeah.
So you'll improve this type of street smart. You will deal with people in a better way. You will learn more about yourself because
Mm.
as long as you are in the same environment,
Yep.
you never discover things you never know about yourself.
True.
Don't you? What's the thing you get out of your life in the United States? You told me a lot of interesting stuff as well.
Yep. Well, I mean, dude, the learning curves are steep. I mean, uh, if you ask me back the same question, my learning curves was just as you said, thinking out of the box, fending for yourself, being responsible, having to rely on yourself most of the time, not having.
Mm.
But I think the one thing that I took away from that was I gained a lot of self-esteem, and I think you too,
Mm.
and I think you too. Yeah. So I came home a more confident person that I could trust myself. I could believe. I believed in myself more, and that's what it was. Like you just trust that if you set your heart and soul and mind to it, you can do it. You can achieve it. That was my learning that I took away. Yeah.
Okay, so one question for you. You always keep asking question. I have to fire back, bro. Would you think that you would be the same entrepreneur you are right now
Hmm.
as a successful businessman
Hmm.
if you didn't get that experience from the United
No
States?
way, no way at all, no way. And I can answer that very quickly, only because, first of all, the person that I was before I had the opportunity to go was, when I grew up as a teenager, I already was struggling with issues like self-esteem and being around people and believing that I could do it. And so, and then of course I became a clown and all that. But I think when I got to the States, and the moment I was there and I started seeing my peers, uh, especially the locals, the Americans, just getting out there and working, sorry, going to class, having a job, and still balancing life, I was like, wait a minute. Hmm. So this is the American way. And that's why, very quickly, weeks after getting there, I already signed up to work on campus and all of that. I became, my first job was campus security, so I was a security guard. um, and I like what I see, so I'm going to immerse myself in that experience. But going there and seeing that, the average college student did all of that, and it was understood that you would do it, I was like, I'm going to do this. So I did security, I sold tickets, I did door-to-door sales, I sold knives, pizza books, credit cards. I mean, obviously I did my clown thing. I was campus security, then I worked for an AV company doing sound and lights. I mean, I worked on in the resort during the summer, and I drove a train. I served ice cream, dude. I mean, in 2 years,
This is this is the this is the perfect blend for what you are doing right now.
you know,
Don't you?
yeah. So if I didn't do all of that and not have to worry about self-esteem, what would people think, because I was
Mm,
surrounded by American students doing that, I felt like, okay, this is normal. And it conditioned my mind. And then of course, 9/11 happened. I came
mm.
I, I promise you, if 9/11 never happened, I wouldn't be here today, 100%. I would never have come back from America, because a lot of my friends are still there 20 years later. I don't know
Okay.
what I would be doing, but
Everything happens for a reason, bro.
everything happens for a reason. And so, coming back, I had this I was fired up. Like, I swear, I had my close friends, my childhood buddies, who, when I came back, even after 2 years, are like, what the hell happened to you? And I think, yeah, I mean, I'm sure your experience has also helped you mature into a similar mindset, if I may say.
100%. When I was in Malaysia as well, in my third year, I worked as a cashier. I worked as a salesman. I worked as a personal trainer because I saw myself I'm improving in that way. So I had to do all of these things, especially the things like working as a cashier, working in a shop, selling things. It makes you realize how it feels to be on the other side.
Correct.
Very valuable. People don't
Correct.
get this. That's
Correct.
why mostly people like you see people disrespect people on the other side because
Yeah.
they don't know how it
Oh,
feels.
of course. Of course. So, I mean, I'm not going to take up your time, dude. But is there anything else you want to just mention? Because I think, I after this, when we have the chance, once this goes on, people will get to see what you do, because, like, obviously I'll steer them towards your profiles and all that. But
Yep.
you know, what is it that you want to leave out there with just our viewers and listeners? Because the reason I put you on the show is because I like the story, the angle of international student coming in, getting out of your comfort zone, adapting, and then choosing your escapism angle, and then coming back to reality, working through that, and then now you have clarity on what you want to do, where you want to go, or just how you're going to approach life. So I think it's a very good story that a lot of others can relate, especially at your stage in life right now, as a young graduate who's worked a year and a half or 2 years, and now you're back home, but what's next, kind of thing. So is there anything you want to put out there just before we wrap it up?
Yeah, just like we need, it's the same thing we have been saying in this interview. It's like just believe in yourself. The only thing that's limiting us from reaching the things we want to achieve is ourselves.
Yep.
So we're always in this cage that's our mind. And there's all these amazing things. If we allow ourselves
Mm.
to go out of this cage we have in our brain.
Yep.
This cage is not an actual cage. It's
Yep.
a cage we create for ourselves. It's the limitation of the people around us. Most of the time, our friends, when we tell them, "Oh, we want to do this big thing, we want to start this company, I want to start this business, I want to be
Yep.
like this, I want to be like that," they say you can't do it, and they make fun of you.
Yep.
They don't mean to do that, but they reflect themselves on you because they cannot do it. So they
Mm.
assume you cannot do it as well. So
Yep.
once you start developing this understanding that you can do something different from everyone else, your life is not the same anymore. How to achieve that? Do the things you know you have to do and you know you had to do on a daily basis until your brain adjusts to that new normal. So you have to up your standards.
Yep.
Everyone living on this standards, your standards are here. Standards can be what time do you wake up? How many times you work out per day if you want to be a professional athlete? How many hours you work per day?
Yep.
If you are like a businessman like yourself, I'm really sure you had a lot of sleepless nights
Oh yeah.
running events even
Oh yeah.
before. See, because why? Because that's your standard.
Yep.
You have to deliver at a certain standards and you live up to the standards. So if one key takeaway from my whole journey is just raise your standards. I got this from Tony Robbins. You know Tony Robbins, right?
Of course, dude. Yeah.
Raise your standards. Once your standards are high and you're meeting your own expectation, you're working to reach that standard, your life is not the same anymore. Once I understood that concept, my whole life changed. Just raise your standards.
So, AbdulAziz, bro, right now, what would you say your position in life is? So, if somebody were to come to you now, obviously you can help craft a fitness program for them. That's number one, correct? You can definitely
Yes, correct.
coach people, even though it's virtual coaching today, nowadays.
I'm doing that.
I totally understand that. So, what
Yeah.
else? What else can people reach out to you for? I'm just trying to advertise what you're doing now for you.
Yeah. So what I do is my engineering job is I work in fourth industrial revolution.
Okay.
So I'm an expert in like system integration, upgrading factories to IR 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution, and that thing is on hold right now because of all this quarantine thing.
Yep.
So my main thing right now is fitness. I
Yep.
do like virtual training, virtual personal training.
Yep.
So my training doesn't because it's not focused on workouts or diet plans. You can find that anywhere. Everyone can do that. It's more about mental coaching. And for you, like as a sportsman, as like a cyclist, you know how much mental toughness you need to go through like long miles. Like if
Yep.
you're gonna drive it takes a lot of, it costs you a lot mentally. So what I do mainly is like mental coaching instead of
Yep.
focusing on the workouts.
Mhm.
Workouts and diet plans you can find anywhere.
Right.
Everyone can do it.
Right. Right.
So it's more about the face-to-face communication,
Yep.
understanding where you're at right now, and trying to improve your
Yep.
mindset to become more consistent. Because people struggle with their consistency,
Yep.
not with their workouts. Everyone can work out, but can you do it long enough to reach your goals? That's the difference.
Of course. Understand. So very cool. So which means if people really just want to reach out with regards to discussing either physical fitness or mental fitness, I think you're the right guy for that.
100%.
Awesome.
100%.
Well,
I'll be
ladies
glad.
and gentlemen, this is my man AbdulAziz, who spent 7 years in Malaysia, who's back in Saudi. He can't sit still, as you can tell, and he's just fired up for life. And I think it's a great story, even for somebody with your youthfulness, who has already seen life, appreciated it, and has chosen to approach it from now onwards with this newfound zest for life. And I think that's what people need to take stock of their lives. And I think I appreciate you for telling your story, for keeping it real from the heart, my man.
Thank you very much for having me. It's always a blast talking to you, man. I'm looking forward to do another interview. When I'm back in Malaysia, I'll hit you up.
Yes, sir. So, folks, this is the Jiggy John show. We just featured AbdulAziz from Riyadh, who, as an international student, was right here in Malaysia. Great story. Stay tuned for this. And don't forget to subscribe to the Jiggy John show and Jiggy John TV YouTube. And the audio podcast will be dropped on Spotify, Apple, Google, and the whole world. You're going to hear his story very soon. Thank you very much for watching and viewing. And thank you very much, homie. Shukran, Habibi. Yalla,
Habibi.
yalla.